Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball field.
One of the most comfortable, reduces concussion, increases performance. You can't get a mouthpiece like that on the market.
Not only is it a great product, it's super easy to use. I recommend it for any player at any age at any level. Thank you guys so much, and go check out NeuroGuard Plus.
NeuroGuard mouthpiece makes it easier to breathe while playing basketball. The unique design is not as bulky as any other mouthpiece and makes you feel safe in concussions.
NeuroGuard. They control my breathing while I'm writing. It stops me getting concussions while I wreck. It's very easy to use, so go pick one up today.
You know, I'm still doing stunts. You know, and the concussions I've got, and I feel much safer with that. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing a whole lot better in the gym. So NeuroGuard Plus, you know, once this one wears out, you've got a customer for life, because I'm telling you people, NeuroGuard Plus is the way to go, and me, Mark Ash, says so.
Parents, kids, coaches, NeuroGuard. It's the future. Stay tuned.
Brown right, motion, tailback slant. Let's put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner, all right? On one, ready? Go 13! Coming up, go 13!
Lights are bright on Friday night.
I just want to say before we get started here, by the way, this is the 3A show. This is, of course, Sideline to Sideline. You've clicked on the listen button, so you know who we are. But, man, have we not just been fortunate on the games that went to this year? Starting off with Carthage versus Kilgore. And, yeah, I know we went and saw Jefferson and Leonard, but we won't talk about that one.
That was good for, like, kickoff into, like, 2 possessions later.
Yeah,
so
it was good to
we got 2 positions.
And it was a good chance to see Jefferson, who we'll talk about on the show. They're still rolling along. And you know, this week, sometimes you have to possibly swallow it's going to be an ugly game to get a chance to look at some teams. But up into now, though, absolutely fabulous. And that includes last week's game, Columbus versus Bellville. Mm-hmm. You would not have known it had been like 10 years since these two former heated rivals played. This game was chippy. It was physical. It was violent. It was everything you would think a third-round playoff game would have been. And it was just a dude.
I'll tell you what makes this such an awesome game outside of the playoff atmosphere. It was homecoming for Columbus. Bellville packed the stands on their side.
Yeah.
But it was the physicality of the game, and it was the multiple lead changes, right? Bellville kind of got the best of Columbus in the first half. Yep. I think a lot of people in Columbus were like, whoa. You know, they hadn't been pushed. I think a lot of people from
Bellville was like, whoa, because they had struggled.
You know, Columbus hadn't been pushed all year, right? And Columbus has been in some battles against some really good teams like Salina. So, you know, Bellville was right there, right where they wanted to be. I think people on the Columbus side were a little concerned at half. But, man, Columbus came out and showed what a number 1, number 2 team in Class 3A should do. Is not hang their heads. Let's get to work. and man, did they ever get to work. This was just a tough physical game, one of the best regular season games that we've been to in a long time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And as a team that famously a couple years ago had some Columbus people mad at you, but you had said, and you were right at the time, and they knew, everybody knew that you were right in that at times a couple years ago when you punched them in the mouth, they kind of didn't respond. Bellville.
No, they respond
in the mouth.
Columbus
yes.
And Bellville is too. I mean, Belleville's they're both so physical at the point of attack.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like you said, that second half, Columbus drops 35 of their points after being held to a minuscule 14 at halftime. And inside that, though, give Bellville credit. Columbus, it looked like they were about to boat race Bellville in that third quarter. And then Bellville had a couple big drives that stayed into it, and they brought it back up. But again, Columbus just too much for them. And
I tell you what, it's hard to contain Shovel and the Rigdon kid. I mean,
he's the real deal, folks.
He is.
I'll admit, it wasn't that I doubted him as a player, but it was like, okay, let's see what happens when he goes up to 11 man.
When there's 5 more dudes.
5 more dudes, and in this region, 5 really good dudes each team. Yeah. And how is he going to do? And I'm going to say this. He's one of those guys you can't even describe how he runs. He runs violent when he needs to. He has the moves when he needs to. He can outrace the guy when he needs to.
Yeah.
I just know one thing. Other than a couple of really vicious borderline hits, nobody was bringing him down with one hit.
Right.
And we can talk about Bellville. Bellville has struggled defensively in the secondary. And that's going to be, I think, their Achilles heel going forward. But the physicality of the Bellville defense is still normal Bellville defense.
Belleville's going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah, I think I think this is one of those games where, it's like you looked at Belleville's record and you're like, man, maybe they're not as good. And then you go, wait a minute, it's who they've played. And Hitchcock, by the way, is the real deal this year, too.
Oh, yeah.
Who beat Bellville last week. But anyway, we before we get into the meat of the show, I just had to bring up, we always talk about our trip. Shobles was really good. Dude, underrated steak. We had a lot of people saying go there, but then we had a lot of people also saying, yeah, but it's not as good as it used to be. Well, if that's not as good as it used to be, I want to go back in time.
Yeah.
Because that place was freaking just a great trip all
almost
around.
Got the Jaeger schnitzel because I just love German food, but ended up with the steak. Not disappointed.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
And they had, and if you know me and Grant love cheese. And we're sitting at the little salad bar and we look up and it looked like it was Andrew Jackson's White House, a big old hunk of cheese.
30 pound hunk of cheese.
And you just cut it yourself. And it was so creamy. Best baked potato we had. Just a great trip and we appreciate everybody from Columbus and Bellville. Chase Burnett, we got to finally meet him, a Bellville guy that we love to talk with on Twitter and stuff. But everybody was just super nice and everybody was just asking, this was one of those areas.
Everybody on the Bellville sideline, though,
they are just so suspicious,
man. Who are you? Oh, I thought you might be a spy. Now you're with who now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so just hand them a card now.
So I'm going to start telling everybody.
Just have to start standing in the end zone.
I'm just going to start telling everybody we're Matt Stepp. That's Matt Stepp. That's Greg Tepper. How y'all doing?
All right, dude. Speaking of Columbus, Bellville, let's go to Franklin because I think a lot of people are overlooking Franklin because
they suck this year
because of the shine of Columbus, right? But let's not forget about Franklin. They drop a close one to Houston Legacy, 48-41. But what a game this one was! I mean, Houston Legacy they're a football factory.
They're
right
trying
now,
to
right?
be IMG.
Right.
That their whole thing is, or these schools, they're called Legacy School of Sports Science. They're starting to kind of pop up all over these big cities. I legitimately feel like they might take the IMG model and keep kids in Texas. So instead of going over to Florida, you can just go to Houston and stuff. Right. So losing to Legacy is not in any shame.
I mean, look, Franklin was driving to tie the game with under a minute left, and on a 4th down conversion, they were stopped just 1 yard short. So let's not forget about Franklin. People are gonna forget about Franklin because they've lost 2 now, right, to Salina and Houston Legacy, 2 teams that would beat 99% of anybody in 4A down, right?
Yes,
or 3A down at least. 3A down. So, dude. Franklin, you cannot overlook them because there's nobody. in Class 3A that Franklin can't beat. I mean, they could just as easily be champions as Columbus could be,
Malakoff or anybody.
Yeah,
there's not going anywhere. Well, and I'm going to add it once again. Franklin threw for 163 yards. That's that kind of stuff that if that continues and Noah Tart continues and it adds, because I still contend that was kind of the thing that against Malakoff.
And if I'm Franklin, I'm sitting here just letting everybody look at Columbus and all the shiny cars, the shiny new cars, right? And I'm just laying in wait saying, okay, that's fine.
And the thing is, Columbus has still got to beat Franklin in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's still a big roadblock for them.
That would be a mammoth matchup.
Yeah. By the way, we understand if you're watching this, the video quality. We're having some internet issues in the studio this week. I was supposed to get a new cable, and it literally was supposed to be here right before we started. And Amazon's like, "Hey, sorry, it's going to be like 2 more days. I don't know how we told you it was on a truck and it was being delivered, and now it's going to be 2 more days." So we do understand we're having some issues
truck
with
flipped.
it. Probably.
Cable fell into the lake.
Whatever.
And here we go. They got to redo it. All right. How about Sunray 30, Canadian 20? Man, the Canadians' woes just keep continuing. They didn't look completely right against Bushland. Given Bushland is a darn good team, right?
And Sunray's a darn good team.
And Sunray's a darn good team. But this is just not the Canadian Wildcat team that we're used to seeing, man.
Oh, this is the Canadian Wildcat team of a few years ago that went 9-4. Now, add those amount of games up, you go, wait a minute, they still make, yes, they're still Canadian.
Right.
Yeah, they're taking their lumps right now against the Bushlands and the Sunrise. We're talking about 2 teams that are both ranked in their classes and in their divisions, and both of them highly ranked. They have another tough one this week. They're going to be taking on Shallow-Water, and then they're going to hit district. And then Canadians are going to start doing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And then by the time the second round of the playoffs, I think the Wildcats are going to be perfectly fine.
Yep.
We knew losing Cameron Cavalier and Luke Flowers and Preston Neumuller and a lot of that offensive line, we knew they were going to have to adjust, and they did it. I mean, they could have easily scheduled some really crappy teams, been 5-0, feeling good about themselves, and then hit the playoffs and get beat in the first round.
Yep.
They would rather play the Bushlands. And let's not forget, they beat a good Muleshoe team, and they beat a really good Dumas team who took Bushland to the mat. And let's go ahead and talk about that, as Bushland does get the win in overtime. It looks like, and we might be talking about some Dumas in the 4A world, but just a good win for Bushland. But that shows you how good Canadian still is.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them at all.
Yeah. All right, Edna 28, Orange Grove 0. Edna getting the shutout. I mean, Edna, they play Bay City a couple of weeks ago, and I think a lot of people would have considered Bay City maybe a slight favorite.
Oh, yeah,
and Edna just wipes the field with them. And look at Edna not looking back, man. So that's a huge win for the Cowboys. UC Randolph 28, San Antonio Cole 27. Randolph is now 5-0. What a game this was. I mean, it's a classic matchup, the Military Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and UC Randolph is just, man, we might need to get down there and see them.
Hey, first off, they have one of the coolest names. They're a bird and a plane, the Rohawks. Yeah, good win for them. 5-0.
Do we have a clean enough background to get on the military base?
Well, we made that mistake that one time where we kind of turned wrong. I can't remember what we were down there for. I guess
that was the border. They won't let anybody.
That wasn't the border.
We had beer in our hands.
It was not the border in San Antonio.
Wow. Oh, where were we? We were at the border.
I'm talking about when we were I'm talking San Antonio a couple years ago.
Okay,
we turned one exit wrong. And we ended up at the base, and we were like turned down. And it was one of those, like, if you go down to Crawford and you get a little too close to Bush's Ranch,
we did do that one. Yeah.
Helicopters start kind of popping up.
Black Suburbans.
Well, and the really scary thing is that they pop up, and then they're like Grant Goodwin and Terry Bennett. Please get out of the car. We love your show, by the way, but please get out of the car. But no, still great win for the Rohawks. And when you look at who they beat, and they're going to hit district. And this is a 13-3A that, Llano's a little bit down this year. I mean, they're 4-1, but they're still a little bit down when you look at who they've played and their scores. Rohawk might be able to take this district. And again, seeding matters. And last year they got beat in the second round. This year, I think they're looking at being a region threat. I think they could be.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of a threat, man, Whitney, 4-1 now after they just throttle Little River Academy 76-30.
Yeah, the Wildcats started the year off by thumping Mart 43-8. And then they lost to Benbrook, and we tried to tell people that Benbrook's actually
Benbrook beat Holiday.
Yeah, Benbrook's a solid 4A team this year. It feels like they finally are getting things going. Kind of ho-hummed it against Hillsborough, but that's a rivalry game for them. And that game, and Hillsborough's got some talent this year. They're dealing with injuries.
Can never imagine anybody having Hillsborough as a rival.
What are you going to do, man?
I mean, nothing against Hillsborough. It's just, I don't know.
It's always the next town over.
Maybe they're,
but
they're the Aggies of Central Texas.
I know Little River Academy is really down this year.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be better, but still, when you're dropping 76
and nothing
on them,
against the Aggies, I actually like A&M.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. I do like A&M.
You spent the
I'm
whole,
a big Texas fan,
you
but
spent
I
the
do
whole
like
time
A&M.
driving back Saturday screaming, Suey, woo, woo, Suey.
Oh man, what a good win for A&M, by the way.
Yeah, but still, it just.
So here you go. You're the Aggie hater because you're trying to talk it out. A win's a win.
Hey, did the Mississippi State game start giving you weird feelings in that?
Yeah.
Because Texas was dominating all over the field. It's that old traditional, you're winning on the field, but not the scoreboard there for. But it was a good.
It's called penalties and turnovers.
Especially 2 weird fumbles by Blue. But anyway, I like what Whitney's doing. We're going to find out 2 weeks from now. They have a bye this week. Grandview, and I know Grandview is down, but
Grandview's still really solid.
Well, until they're, I do think they're, I think they're way down. But
they're way down, but way down for Grandview is pretty good.
Oh no, I'm
for
saying
other
like
teams.
get beat in the first round down. I think
maybe
Grandview's
I don't
really
know.
not.
Maybe I think they're better than what you think they are.
And they could definitely develop into that. And by the way, they had a nice win against the 4A Spring Hill team that their record doesn't look good, but go look at who they played. And they score a ton of points, have a really good running back. And for Grandview to hold them to just 14 points, I think is very impressive. But now, in 2 weeks, we've got Whitney, Grandview. We'll talk about that. I think between them and West and Maypearl, again, we said at the beginning of the year. And look at Groesbeck, by the way, 4-1.
Right.
5-3A Division I. It's not a sexy district. You don't have 5 state ranked teams.
Toughest districts. If we could go and re-rank those toughest districts like we did in preseason, this might be.
They were third. They were third.
Were they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were third because we understood the depth of this district. Speaking of rankings, sideline to sideline rankings will start rolling out this week. We'll put them on Patreon. I'll of course link it on our sideline to sideline page, and then we'll put them on Patreon at first, and then we'll put them over on the regular Facebook page. Let's see, Rush. Oh, hey, Rice Consolidated, man.
Yeah.
Let's start. We kept bringing them up
Undefeated,
as kind of a note.
right?
Yeah, undefeated. At one point had gone 4 straight games without giving up points. But more importantly, I think, is beating a good bowling team 23-16. Corday Johnson throws for 159 yards. John Woods had 56 yards receiving. And Consolidated is beating solid teams. They're not beating cupcakes.
Right. Yeah, they're beating solid teams. And you had mentioned their defense, and they were unscored on for the first 3 weeks, but they've still only given up 22 points all season in 5 games.
Yeah, it's nice to see that the Raiders are back. It has been a really rough 5 years for them. Brad Duman again. He came back. He's the one that led them to that early 2000s when it became known as the Swamp, and when they were region semifinalists was their home. I don't know if
Pam would never let me walk on the hallowed grounds of the grass of the Swamp.
Nope. That's one of the few places you sit in the stands when you go to that game. The thing is, this is a 5-0 with this team, and this is nothing on them. They're 1-0 in district now, but this could easily turn into a 1-4 if they don't watch it.
It's a tough district
with East Bernard, and look at what the Brahmas are doing, and of course Tidehaven. We kept telling people, Tidehaven's not going anywhere. That they're still a solid team, and yeah, Ganado got the best of them 2 weeks ago, but I thought they, Wallace Brazos is down this year, but I thought that they opened district play with a really good dominating win. Them and Vanderbilt Industrial this week for district play. That's going to be an interesting game.
And Rice Consolidated in East Bernard this week.
Yeah, you're going to kind of get that top 4
calibration.
Yeah, a little calibration right off the bat.
All right, Wall 42, Sweetwater 21.
Dude, this was impressive, man. Sweetwater was up at one point, I think 21-12 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Look, Sweetwater, maybe we were a little too quick on it. I thought that they were primed with a young quarterback and a young team.
Season's still early.
Oh yeah, and you still got to play. But I'm just saying, I think we both thought that they would be way, way better than what they've been. But for Wall, dude, nobody's talking about them. And
Yeah.
I mean, we are. But
Only one loss.
one loss. They're just really competitive. They're really solid. And with that new offense, adds a little bit of a dynamic to them that I think they had kind of grown stale offensively. Kind of like Alvarado before they made their change a couple years ago up in 4A. And we'll talk about them in 4A because they made big news. Jefferson, we talked about earlier, they dominate Gladewater. Gladewater
41-12.
Gladewater's not great, but they're a solid team. They've had some good wins this year.
Beat up on Dangerfield.
Everybody's been beat up on Dangerfield. Timmis Taylor threw for 3 touchdowns. Cameron Williams ran for 2 more. The Bulldogs are now 5-0, and honestly, their toughest matchup was DeKalb, and they had to kind of come back from them, and ended up kind of beating them by a couple touchdowns. But just again, we keep telling y'all, look out for them. Gunner, they were like, thank you, we're getting to play 3A teams
beating
again.
Bells 42-6. Yeah.
And this is a solid Bells team. I mean, this is not
it's a solid Bells team.
Brothers
This is
Bells
just
team.
Gunner finally fighting in its same weight class and realizing, hey, we're Gunner now.
And I had a guy that watches for Bells. He messaged me and literally said, he goes, you could tell that first quarter they kind of were like, wait, oh, they're smaller than us, and we can actually, it's on the same level ground. And again, we kept telling people. Actually, I had somebody ask, what's wrong with Gunner? And they were just looking at scores, and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with Gunner. Hey, speaking of looking good, Jim Ned, dude.
Yeah,
I do want to say that this is being brought to you by Big Country Blitz. Find them online at bigcountryblitz.com. They are, for all the information, they do something really cool. Cody does really cool. He actually has fantasy football numbers for the players in Big Country area where he rates their points for the year and stuff.
Oh, really?
And I've actually been kind of just following it and just kind of seeing who's at the leaderboard. So again, please check out Big Country Blitz.
Is there an actual fantasy football league?
I mean, there are some. I've never done a high school one.
I can't keep up with an NFL. Fantasy football.
Well,
league.
and also in high school, and there's college ones too. The problem is you can have a dude that's on a very okay team, but he's in a really crappy district, and he's putting up all these numbers, and you're just winning with crazy.
You got to think.
Oh, is that it?
Think a man's game, man.
But
I won a game in our fantasy league. I'm 1-4.
Hey, last year I thought you did pretty good last year, didn't you? I think you made the playoffs.
Draft, but y'all were making all my moves for me because I don't pay attention.
Well, we weren't doing it to help you. We were doing it so the league could stay, soluble.
Well, thanks for the help.
Anyway,
if y'all could just get me 2 more wins, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Jim Ned, 17, Holiday 15.
You ever watch the league? He's Taco.
Jim Ned's quarterback, Gray Beasley, throws for 157 yards and ran for 32. Aiden Ellis runs for 125. Jim Ned starting to be the old Indians again.
They're just like when they won.
No offense to you in Oklahoma Indians.
Oh, just like when they won state a few years ago.
Minnesota.
It's hard to believe that's been 4 years ago now. They're not gonna do anything spectacular. They're not. Well, I say that, and them in Jacksboro got in a shootout 2 weeks ago, 42-40. But usually, this is the type of win they want. Low scoring defense, and again for Holiday, a good loss. This is they have 2 losses on the year, Benbrook and Jim Ned, and for Holiday, that's just going to make them better, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would not want to face Holiday or Jim Ned in the playoffs. Right?
Is that it?
No.
Where are we at?
Glaring Hitchcock 42.
Oh, yeah.
Silsby 10. I know you hate Hitchcock, but you're going to have to live with the fact that Hitchcock is really damn good this year.
Hey, Lloyd Jones, 15-23, 247 yards.
And after this, though, tell everybody why you hate Hitchcock and why you keep trying to gloss over them.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know. You were trying the segment.
I just didn't see him on the list. By the way, this was a very quiet thing. They ended Silsby's a regular season winning streak at like 30-something games. I didn't realize Silsby had gone on that big of a role in the regular season. But Hitchcock, I think it's impressive not only that they thumped Silsby, but it would have been very easy to lay down a little bit after last week's big win against Bellville. We know that was a physical game because Bellville's physical. And for them to just turn around and then destroy another 4A team like they did, I'm telling you, we keep talking Columbia, we keep talking Columbus, and we keep talking Franklin. Hitchcock, I think, is a little angry of how their season ended last year.
Hitchcock is, with Lloyd Jones, is pushing the field more, right? Chase Bruton is, he had 4 catches and 103 yards.
Yep.
those are big plays, right? They're pushing the ball down the field. That's one thing. I don't think they were able to push it as much last year, but their defense has improved 90 to 100% from last year.
Their offensive line play is good enough now to allow Jones to at least move.
Yeah.
Look, DJ Sanders lived in the backfield against them, but he's DJ Sanders.
Right.
But just like with how Schobel was able to do it against Sanders, as great as DJ Sanders is, he's still a 300-pound man going up against athletes in space.
Yeah.
That's where Bellville's struggling on their side is they got to get other people to help him when he rushes the passer, and it's not just him one-on-one.
Right.
I highlighted that Hitchcock game, and it was just one-on-one. But that's because the rest of the offensive line was blocking
roll
good
away
enough.
From Sanders,
roll away
on the
from
move,
make a
boom.
move and boom. Yeah,
Right.
and so the offensive line does not have to be dominating for Hitchcock. It just needs to give Jones
It needs to be
time.
better than it was last year, and all accounts
Yep.
tell me that it's better than last year. But that defense is much improved for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. That's going to do it for the 3A review. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to preview week 6, including a game we're going to. And we'll do all that when we come back. Oh, and we have Coach X too here on Sideline to Sideline, the 3A edition.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball field.
One of the most comfortable, reduces concussion, increases performance. You can't get a mouthpiece like that on the market.
Not only is it a great product, it's super easy to use. I recommend it for any player at any age at any level. Thank you guys so much, and go check out NeuroGuard Plus.
NeuroGuard mouthpiece makes it easier to breathe while playing basketball. The unique design is not as bulky as any other mouthpiece and makes you feel safe in concussions.
NeuroGuard. They control my breathing while I'm riding. It stops me getting concussions while I wreck. It's very easy to use, so go pick one up today.
I'm still doing stunts. And the concussions I've got, I feel much safer with that. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing a whole lot better in the gym. So NeuroGuard Plus, once this one wears out, you've got a customer for life, because I'm telling you people, NeuroGuard Plus is the way to go, and me, Mark Ash, says so.
Parents, kids, coaches, NeuroGuard. It's the future. Stay tuned.
Seriously? We're live, right?
Lights are bright on Friday night.
Good, we're back
Fall in
here.
small Texas
Give me a
town.
warning.
So, the whole countdown thing. Hey, we're back on in 5, 4.
I didn't hear that. I got water in my ear from swimming.
Even the cops
When were you
disregard the
swimming?
shops and the banks
Last weekend in
to hear the
in
band.
Granbury.
Oh, that's right. It was hot enough, wasn't it?
Motto for the
Yeah,
sheriff's
it's
daughter.
been
She's
Pool
the
day.
hometown fan.
Pool day. Stupid.
Oh, I bet you hated that.
Well, no, I did. Couldn't
Why?
watch college football. I did watch Michigan USC on my phone in the pool. It's pretty cool.
Well, that was an ugly one.
Yeah, it was. Now I got to go buy a new phone.
Why? Why'd you drop it?
I was in the pool.
But why'd you? Just because you're in the pool didn't mean you had to drop it.
Not on purpose. Anyway, let's
Did
talk
you
about
and Coach X hang out lately? Because you got some Coach X tendencies going on.
Nope.
All right. Speaking of Coach X, by the way, that's Grant Goodman. I'm Terry Bennett. Sideline to Sideline, the Class 3A edition. Joining us now via the fax machine, as he does each and every week, Coach X. He'll give us his diatribe, or I should say, not Coach X right now, ex-Coach X, because he's been traveling the northwest of America.
Why Northwest?
I don't know. Like,
there's more jobs in Texas than there are in the Northwest.
Well, and he has a certain persona, and
he likes that teenage werewolf movie thing.
Oh, Twilight. That's what it is. That's what it is.
He and his wife.
He's lied to us. They're traveling and going to all the filming locations, and he's like, "Throw some sparkle on me. Throw some sparkle on me."
Oh man, what a loser!
Anyways, here's what Coach X has to say. So, my travels have taken me to the strange new worlds. Terry, have you ever been to Burnt Shaft, Idaho? And no, not
Shaft,
that.
Idaho.
And no, not that sensation when you pee. This is a real place. It's right next to Penicillin, Idaho. And let me tell you, this rivalry is crazy. It is everything you want. Cheerleaders that look like streetwalkers, coaches with hats that have feathers in their hats and gold chains and orange rind.
Sounds like Colorado.
It also features a
Buffalo.
Yeah, really. I'm not really thinking an Idaho coaches guy. I don't know.
With also, a cane and walking stick.
It also features a
Technicolor dream coat.
It also features a concert after the game and the musical stylings of VD and the Trojans. Man, did I meet some woman there? Let me tell you, but they didn't look like the kind of woman I'd want you to associate with. Grant, you'd have been in heaven though, and that's what Coach X has to say. All right, let's go to the game.
Why can't I go on these work trips with him?
I don't think you want to. I know y'all act like you do, but I think.
I mean, we have so many great money making ideas. He doesn't have to travel the Northwest.
I'm telling you,
stay here, man.
We
can work on some of the ideas I have that are for sure money makers.
I think the inner hippie in him is coming out, and he's
guess
up there in
so.
Oregon.
I don't know how he's going to find a job down here coaching back in Texas next year.
I keep telling you,
he had 2 interviews. He said
he might end up in Oklahoma. He might have to do the Pat Ward thing and go to another state and reinvent himself, and then come back. You know,
I mean, he'll find a 7th grade offensive coordinator.
his infamous punt offense.
Right.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with a game that we're going to be going to. Now, look, first off, on paper, this probably won't be pretty, but I'm going to tell you what. Caldwell's 2-2, but man, that Robinson loss 31-20, and I know Glen Rose struggled again this week in 4A, but still, Robinson beat Glen Rose last week 48-46 or 49-46, something like that. And then their other loss was to Gerald, and Gerald's actually become a pretty consistent 4A solid team.
And that was only by what?
30-26. Yeah. Now, I still think that Lexington will end up winning by what they want. I do think that we'll probably end up in our Rockdale hotel a little early. But
Rockdale, the game's in Lexington.
We're staying in Rockdale. You know this because
why don't you want to feed the Lexington economy?
Well, I am. I want to be at Snow's at 2 a.m, breaking in, try to make me a sandwich.
Breaking in. Yeah, that's supporting the economy.
I'll leave a $5 on the counter. I'm not an ass. Jeez. But we, as you pointed out when we were talking about this, we got to see Lexington before the playoffs.
Yeah, this is look, man, Case Evans, quarterback, probably one of the best quarterbacks in 3A. And then Noah Wright Harris, man, averaging 120 games a yard.
120 yards a game.
God, so many coats.
In 120
and Mason
games,
Beal, a receiver. I mean, that's just an offensive juggernaut that Lexington's got going on. I think this is a real calibration game for Lexington, though. I think Caldwell's just good enough. They're 2-2. Like I said, their losses to Robinson and to Gerald. This is a good calibration game. We wanted to see Lexington all year anyway.
Yeah.
If Lexington can come out and just win comfortably against Caldwell, and they look good doing it, I think we'll know that the Eagles are a contender, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
So this is a fact-finding mission on Friday.
Exactly. And Coach X has – oh, hang on. I got to go back.
Oh, does he have a pick on this one?
Yeah, so his pick'ems, because of where he's at up in, I think it's, I guess, Idaho now. He doesn't have great sales, so he won't pick every game every week. He'll basically just pick the games that the internet allows him to. But here's what he has to say about this one. So the Hornets got it going on this season, huh? Well, Lexington always has it going on, except when they don't, like that time back in the 90s. They look like Terry's Tinder profile, ragged and grizzled with a bunch of left swipes across it. Oh, you didn't know that Terry's also a one on Uber? Vomited enough people's backseat. That's what happens. Go Lexington.
I'm probably a 1.
I was about to say, if you want to talk about who would probably be vomiting an Uber, it's going to be that guy.
If you're an Uber driver, you
Grant
see
just
my
wants to
name
say, I'm
pop
sorry.
up. Do not.
Oh, you
pick
can't.
me up.
So
if it's after 10 at night.
So whenever we're shooting,
before, I'm probably fine.
Yeah, whenever we're shooting out to West Texas, a lot of times I'll Uber over to Grant's and we'll just leave from there because he's on the west side. And every time I put your address in, I get a big beep beep. I'm like, no, it's not him. This is me. Can I please? All right, let's go out Idalou versus Wall.
Oh, this is a hidden good game. This is a great game.
I don't even know if it's hidden anymore.
I mean, if you got to pay $5 to $10 to get in, I'm sure it's at Wall 5. That is more than worth the price of the admission to this game. This game is going to be an absolute humdinger.
Well, I want to bring up just 2-3.
And Wall will win by 14 points.
I think so too. But I just want to bring up this district. This is the beginning of district play. And no, not everybody's played a tough schedule, but Idalou and Wall both have. This is the teams coming in. All of them are 4-1. All of them feel good about themselves. This is one of those teams, we always talk about all those 4-team districts, all 4 get in. This is a 5-team district, and there's legitimately one solid team that will end up sitting out of the playoffs this year. And it wouldn't shock me. I think, when it gets said and done, I think Idalou win the district, but it wouldn't shock me if everybody in this district, I'm sorry, it's not a district. Wall's not in a district. I messed up on that. But I think it wouldn't shock me if everybody in 2-3 Division 2 has a loss this year before it's all said and done.
You just got to, if you're in that district, you got to win the one you should and still 2.
Hey, the team that beat Idalou last week, they've got a good one this week. Shallow Water and Canadian. Of course, we talked about Canadian. We've seen Canadian. Canadian is still really good, but they're not where they were last year, and there's no shame in that. Shallow Water, they've been a little bit surprising this year. I mean, they're always good, but I kind of thought they might take a step back. But so far, I've liked what they've done.
Yeah. I like Atlanta and Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good one. I think Jefferson wins this ball game. It's in Jefferson. Cameron Williams will stand out in this game, but I think Atlanta has the horses to match Jefferson offensively for a while.
They started out the year, their only loss is to Pleasant Grove, 33-3. No shame in that. They've then beat Hooks, New Boston, Mount Vernon, and White Oak, and they've progressively gotten better and better.
Right.
But the
It's
thing
going to be
is,
a heck of a game.
It's going to be a great game, and it would not shock me if Atlanta goes into Jefferson and win. Those two teams have they're traveling 15 minutes down the road. There's no home field advantage. But the thing is with Atlanta, it's time for them to finally start doing it in district. We've seen this now for 3 years or 2 years. 3 years ago, they were
this is
terrible.
Their year back. The last 3 years, we're back. We're back.
Yes.
And they're back early, but once it gets the nut cutting time in district, they're not quite back. This might be different though.
And I'm telling you, this is another district where I would not be shocked if the team that wins district doesn't have a loss, because you got Atlanta, Jefferson, and Tatum all really playing solid. Then you've got Liberty Islo, who's still kind of, just because of the one loss, everybody's kind of wrote them off, and it's like, that was the Carthage folks.
Right.
And so I did this 8-3 Division 1. I'm just glad district started.
Can we talk Tatum right now?
Yeah,
let's talk Tatum and
let's
Liberty
talk Liberty
Islo
right now. There we go.
Because I think Tatum and Liberty Islo is either the game of the week in all of the state, or maybe Rice Consolidated and East Bernard. You might be able to position that one. But right now, I would say it's Tatum and Liberty Islo as the best game in Class 3A this week. Tatum's running back, Jamari Gibson, he's a game breaker. Tatum's quarterback, Corey Bradley, is really darn good. And we flip over to LE, man. They have got athletes abound, man. Trip Basinger came over from Hooks and is now the quarterback at Liberty Islo, and Taylor at running back. Prevost kid at receiver averages 21 yards per catch.
Yep. It's big play. Both teams are going to be big play just in different ways. Tatum again with that Whitney Keeling offense. I like
Ellie in this one in a very close one.
I think they still have a little bit more athletes. I still think at the end of the day that's going to rule the East Texas fields usually. And Brad Willard's starting to lock in. They're starting to figure out his system and the style of the way he does. You and I talked about this. As great as we saw how Jefferson looked and how Atlanta, I still think Liberty Ilo's team to watch out for in this district.
I do too. I mean,
but it's going to battle. I mean, like I said,
yeah. This is a darn good
district champ's probably going to be last week, and it's probably going to be by some tiebreakers. Yeah. I don't think anybody goes unscathed in this district.
All right, let's talk about the other game of the week in Class 3A, and that's Rice Consolidated versus East Bernard. Have at it, man.
Well, we talked about
a lot about Rice Consolidated, East Bernard. No, you really you've been on East Bernard or Rice Consolidated early this year. You jumped on them a lot quicker.
I had Jeremy, our Columbus guy. Columbus and Rice Consolidated have a long-standing rivalry. I don't think they're playing this year though, but they have a long-standing rivalry. And he was telling us early in the year, hey, like y'all watch out for that defense, and if they can figure things out offensively. And Corday Johnson, the quarterback, he's not out there throwing for 300 yards, but what he's doing is moving the chains enough to get the wins. Now, in saying that, Bernard has themselves turned their program right around.
Yeah, they have. Both teams are 5-0, by the way.
Both teams are 5-0. East Bernard has done it as they've transitioned from a pure old school. They're throwing the ball more. They're still going to run the ball. And they still got a huge offensive line to Marcus Sanders, 180 offensive linemen. And you and I were talking about this when we were at the Columbus game. I think we have reached the age where even the 3A schools have at offensive line. We've seen it over and over. We talked with Jefferson. We didn't realize Jefferson was that big. Right. And then Columbus and then East Bernard. I love what Rice Consolidated has done, but I just think East Bernard's offense it's weird to say this, is too diversified. Never thought we'd ever say that about East Bernard. I think they're too diversified. Yeah, they've got a great running game, but that passing game, I just think it's going to be too much.
Yeah, me. All right, the last one on the docket would be East Chambers and Hardin. East Chambers is 3-1. Hardin's 4-1. East Chambers quarterback KJ Fontenot kind of leads the team in rushing, so he's a dual threat quarterback. Kobe Jones and receiver Smith are two big playmakers. The one thing that gives me pause is Hardin's one loss on the year was a pretty bad one, 59-0 to Orangeville, right?
Yeah, and it was last week. Now you could also be, this is a team that Hardin, I mean, honestly, other than the one or two time playoffs, I don't think we've ever talked Hardin on the show. It's Probably always not. Been in passing during the preview show. And I think in 2016 or 2017, they made the playoffs, but they got beat in the first round. They've only made the playoffs 6 times. So I think you have to worry about, we talked about this, when one of these teams, they start out like that and they haven't been successful, and then they get that one loss, how do they respond? East Chambers kind of surprised, what was it, 3 years ago they were region threats, and then the last couple of years they've struggled. Russ Sutherland though has maybe his best team since that 2020 team. I like East Bernard. I just think the experience of knowing what it's like in these games still matters.
Yeah, I like East Chambers in this one, and I think Coach X had
Coach
on this one. Okay,
East Chambers. Why the Buccaneers? Isn't a Buccaneer like a baby pirate? How come we cancel Indian mascots but not pirates? Look up what a pirate did. They was no makeup and black pearls. There was plundering, pillaging, which is a smart way of saying raping and stealing.
Wow.
But anyway, go Bucks. They get the win. All right. I think they do it. Efficient show again this week, next week. Kind of light on the previews. But, man, we're about to hit full-on district play again. Apologize. The video is a little shaky and looks like we've been recording off of Grant's iPhone 2 that got confiscated by the police. I'm glad they finally gave you that back. We're working on that. We're getting some networks coming in. If it bothers you, just check out our audio-only S2SGrantandJerry.com. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, email
I prefer
us.
to listen anyway. I don't like looking at you.
Wow, thanks.
or myself.
Wow, I love how you pause.
I've got
there.
a mirror, so I look at myself all the time. I see you enough during the week, so
Especially
I
between,
just prefer to listen. And most of them listen.
between September and
I
December.
have somebody, and, I'm pretty well off, right? So I have somebody transcribe it.
Wait.
You know that? Yeah, pretty well off.
Yeah, you're pretty well
A
off.
little
Every
Asian
time,
person over there transcribing it, and I
every
just
time-
read, oh, okay. Well,
No, see, hang on. I'm going to turn the music down. If you were really well off,
Well, I never said I was really well
but
off.
say you'd have somebody
I'm not pretentious, Terry.
have somebody transcribe it and then have somebody else read the transcription.
Well, I mean, I do that, yeah. Most Asians don't write American curse well. And if you're Asian, I apologize for that generalization, but generally you don't. So I have to have somebody read it off.
So
anyway,
the American Asian Society, you can email us at grantandterry.com.
there's no such society.
Yeah, there is. You
Are
can
you
find
sure?
us on Twitter at Grant and Terry. You can like Facebook. Yeah, the American
Tell
Asian
her you
Society
think the best
out
kung pao beef
in
in
New Mexico.
Dallas.
It's in New Mexico. New Mexico has some of the
New Mexico or Mexico?
No, New Mexico has some of the best
No, I
Chinese
only go
food.
old.
Until next time, he's Grant going out there, but it's sideline to sideline.
Yeah, I'll be sacking a small town like a blindside.